I wish I could remember. There was a really good line on some honey that I purchased at one point that was like manufactured by Taiwan Keeping Bee Production Province or something like that. It was a really fun combination of words, but I can't remember it now.
Why don't you find out and get back to me?
I can't because I don't have that bottle anymore.
Oh, well.
And I've never seen it again.
I guess this non-story is what you have to show for it.
That's all I got. I remember Keeping Bee, though. Keeping Bee is pretty fun.
How dare you penetrate my territory? You have robbed everything I possessed. This is episode 323 of the Insert Credit Show, the world's most popular amateur video game podcast. Our secret? A horrible buzzer. I'm Alex Jaffe, and my favorite food mascot is the Weetabix gang from the 80s that threatens you into trying their cereal. They had the slogan, "If you know what's good for you, you do." It was all kind of menacing.
I like that.
Oh.
Yeah, look it up.
You can put a lot more thought into this than I do. I'm Frank Cifaldi, and my favorite food mascot. Did I get the prompt correct?
That's correct.
Let's see. I'm going to go with Uncle O'Grimacy. Grimace is rarely seen, very Irish, probably blood uncle. He is a green Grimace who brings in the McDonald's mint shake, something I've never tasted myself and plan on dying without having done so.
Man, O'Grimacy is
Uncle O'Grimacy.
That's very funny. That's
very
funny.
Do you just hate mint flavored stuff?
No.
On principle, or are
Nope.
you just a person who's like never had or doesn't like mint chocolate chip ice cream, which is
I love it.
It's a very normal ice cream flavor.
No. I mean, I've got. Hang on.
I mean, I've
got my Costco-sized box of chocolate mint Robert Irvine protein bars
Crunch.
right here. Yeah, so
those are all right.
I am a fan of the mint flavor.
Just the idea of mint, but it's. I mean, obviously, I would never divide chapters in my life up to by like when I encountered such and such McDonald's milkshake flavor either. So I understand. It's just the bold. Saying I'll die never having done this is just a really bold. It's an easy, bold statement template if you're a kid out there considering getting older.
Well, yeah.
The closer you get to 40, the easier it gets to start saying that, right?
Right, and I think it's a healthy way of demonstrating an understanding of one's mortality.
I get sad when I hear people who are like 35 say, "I'll die without ever having gone to Paris." Or whatever, like my dad has
very
said.
Different than
and I'm just like, whoa, that's terrible. Something so frivolous as
I'm not going to say that.
A temporary milkshake flavor I can easily forgive.
But I'm pretty sure I will die without having a McDonald's milkshake of any flavor at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean they're not very good. You like In-N-Out milkshakes?
Sure, it's not something I'm likely to order. I'm not ready to commit to dying without another In-N-Out milkshake, but it's unlikely for me to order one.
Yeah, it's fun to get one sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I can see a situation. It's really, really hard to see a situation where I'm ordering a McDonald's milkshake.
I can't make those kinds of claims because sometimes I'm in another country as a vegetarian, and then I'll be in like McDonald's China, and there's like a durian milkshake. And then I'm like, well, there we go.
You just gotta bring a gallon Ziploc bag full of nuts and raisins and such wherever you go.
But you'll die without going to McDonald's Paris.
Yeah, McDonald's Paris, no way.
We're gonna get a Royale with cheese.
Yeah.
And a Le milkshake.
I want to hear everyone else's favorite food mascots.
Oh, man. Well, I'm Tim Rogers, and as a large child of the 80s, I know all my cartoon characters related to unhealthy processed foods. And what tops the crown more than all of the rest of them than those boys of cereal? We love them. There's a Captain of Crunch. There's a Tiger of Tony. There's the Cinnamon Toast Crunch Baker.
Crunchy.
However, there's no one more interesting to me than just any of those leprechaunian persons, those rodentine individuals.
What, like the
Lucky
Keeblers?
the leprechaun, the Keebler elves. Yeah. just any kind of a rodentary sort of humanoid who
A little guy.
who tries to keep the food for himself or sufficiently creates it in a secluded secret place. Those guys are the real heroes.
Do Snap, Crackle, and Pop count?
Yes.
among that
Well,
number?
for sure.
I'm talking all the rodentary individuals. Yeah. A rodentary individual, for anyone unaware, is a humanoid who's the size of a rodent,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So that's your Keebler elves they fit inside a tree, right?
Yeah.
They do.
Famously.
Those goddamn Smurfian individuals. Just, I love the idea of thinking of creepy little people making my tasty snacks because it makes me feel less bad about, it allows me to just carry that, to pay that forward to myself in the future for the next time I, out of necessity, purchase an item that was likely manufactured in a sweatshop.
So if it is a humanoid that can spelunk up your blue jeans,
Having
Yeah.
a fantasy
Yeah.
in my mind of little creatures happily making a thing makes it slightly easier to accidentally slip out of my constant state of worldly terror and forget about sweatshops. So for that, I have to thank the romanticized tiny white people of the,
The American food
the
industry.
American snack food industry.
Oh my God.
you never would believe where those Keebler cookies come from.
I found out one day, but such is my affection for the fantasy that I have effectively buried that knowledge. It's not bad,
Brandon.
but also there's a real one. But there's a true answer that popped into my head immediately that I was trying to avoid saying.
Why? You're saving it?
Looks like you
Saving
won.
it. Oh yeah, I'm saving it big. You have no idea what I'm saving it for.
All right, then I guess
We'll
we get
get
the
to-
silver today.
Yeah. So some we're gonna keep it secret.
Brandon, you got any secrets?
I'm Brandon Sheffield. I don't think there's any secrets for me here. I will say that I was impressed. It doesn't make it my favorite because I didn't like these, but I was impressed when one time, and correct me if I misremember, I recall the Trix Rabbit having continuous, like a commercial continuity where
Yes.
there was like a last time and then we continued the commercial.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, you've said on the record during this podcast that you've never watched any of my YouTube videos, so you just revealed you definitely haven't because there's a whole thing about this in one of them.
It's not something I'm proud of. It's just I haven't done it. But
There's a whole thing about they let the kids. Are you recalling the one that the most famous one where the advertisers put a poll to the kids viewing the commercials?
no.
Yeah, I voted in that.
Ask them, should the kids let the Trix Rabbit have tricks?
Oh, I do remember that.
So Milk Toast was the ultimate conclusion where the Trix Rabbit gets to eat the tricks.
Mhm.
That one was able to, even a small, or otherwise like myself, large, naive child was able to immediately view the low effort of the conclusion and just know that they were completely blindsided by children saying, yes, he should have it. They clearly had nothing in the chamber for the just the shocking reveal that kids are like, yeah, let's let him have them.
Yeah, I mean, and they're basing their assumptions off of the kid saying, "Yeah, murder Robin."
Yeah, exactly.
I know
they were
exactly how Tim feels right now because I was about to make I voted in that, and somehow in the results, Jason Todd died. But you scooped me.
It was like they were expecting an avalanche of more info checkboxes checked with please have him get kicked in the nuts 300 times as all the children say no. Please have him stabbed with knives, I believe the kids would spell it.
With an apostrophe.
Please have him stabbed with knives. They were expecting that, so they were just kind of brainstorming even like higher levels of cruel and unusual Mortal Kombat-esque punishment.
They were trying to itchy and scratchy it.
Yeah.
So then there's the honeycomb, me want honeycomb
Yeah, I like that guy.
ball of
Good guy.
fuzz. I like the guy, but I don't love the commercials because he's just bouncing around and smashing things.
It's the original Gritty, basically.
Yeah, he's very Gritty-esque.
I don't know if he's a character so much as a character that the people who consume the cereal turn into.
I would say that's a character.
Yeah, I think it's still a character. Anyway,
It opens a door to a nice sci-fi concept.
anyway, it's not my choice. So luckily we don't have to
When are we getting the
firmly.
serial expanded universe of David Cronenberg's Honeycomb, dude?
That's right.
Like, where's that at,
The
right?
CEO.
Maybe his kid could do it. He's doing all those movies now.
Oh, yeah, his most recent one was quite good.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet.
I'll check it out.
I think ultimately I have to go with an unsurprising pick from me, which, though not my favorite, is my favorite to think about, and that's the Noid, because
Oh, yeah, the Noid is pretty good.
the Noid looks weird. The Noid is like, the Noid doesn't want Domino's pizza.
Yeah, he hates the product that
He
he's
hates
created to advertise.
It's it's weird and neat.
Mm-hmm.
And just the art style is wiggly and kind of unnerving and almost depressing. So I think I got to give it to the Noid.
Give it up for the
Yeah,
Noid.
the Noid is quite interesting. He's a food anti-mascot.
Yeah.
An interesting advertising invention.
Yeah,
I'm a big advertising history maven, and let me tell you, Noid is pretty neat. Though
Yeah.
I think maybe, can we give an honorable mention to the McCann Erickson Corporation's Norman Rockwell's Coca-Cola's Santa Claus,
I think we can, yes.
who was invented. He was invented for probably the greatest food mascot of all time, to a point where he became actual culture in America,
Yeah.
and people don't even remember. They don't even remember.
The pre-Coke Santa.
Yeah, they just don't remember. They just think he just emerged. Like, the Noid almost tricks one into believing he exists. Because, we all know a guy like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, there was a kid like that in my chemistry class, right?
What,
Right?
like the Noid?
Yeah, he looked just like him.
No, I don't know. I really don't know.
There was another kid who looked just like the honeycomb, the honeycomb
Frank, if
abomination.
you're in a room and you don't know who the Noid is, it's probably you.
What's the honeycomb's name? Is his name the honeycomb abomination? Is that his name? That'd be pretty catchy.
All right. Well, that's been our show, everybody.
Well, hang on. I think I want to just slip in real quick a little insert credity thing here. Just a reminder that Factor 5 did an Amiga platform game called Tony and Friends in Kellogg's Land that is a pretty decent platformer that people would have talked about if it were on the Sega Genesis.
Does it
Ah.
have quadrilax scrolling?
I think it's got some parallax. It's Factor 5, man. It's got
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever you play a game that doesn't have parallax scrolling, don't you just get so sad?
Oh, I want to
Yes.
throw up.
I do.
You like
It's
how,
so
how many?
flat. Is that just in front of him? This thing? Is that
Yeah.
building next to me?
Is this a painting?
Right.
Am I just looking at a painting?
It's just burn the whole NES library, in my
It's like
opinion.
hieroglyphics where there's no frame of depth
Mhm.
of field.
Yeah.
All right. Here's my first question. Well, it's not my first question. It's Frank's last question, because last week, Frank wanted us to revisit this, and now I've earmarked some time for it. What is the proper nomenclature for the Snatcherlike video game?
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was watching Frank's face as he was like, what did I want
Yeah.
to come back
Yeah.
to?
I was really savoring that.
There was a little bit of dread, and also it was only last week, so I'm probably not ready. A very readable face as I was watching the stream. So, yeah, I mean, traditionally it's just called adventure game in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Adventure, ADV.
Adventure.
But what's like Zelda called in Japan?
Is that an action adventure?
So there has been a tradition in Japan since the early days of the Famicom to list a game genre like on the back of the box, and it's always something weird.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like it's always a made up name.
They try to do it unique style.
People latch on to Devil May Cry's because they actually tried to promote it with that genre name in America, because they thought the world was ready to just say we've created the world's first stylish hard action game, right? And meanwhile, Resident Evil was survival horror. That was a name Shinji Mikami made up. Some of these Japanese genre names are easily deridable, such as Shenmue's Fully Reactive Eyes Entertainment, or Free.
Hmm.
But some of them we never talk about, and they're actually really good. Super Mario Bros. 3 advertised on the back of its box as Technical Action Game, TAG.
Ooh.
So I don't know. Snatcher is just called Adventure Game.
Okay, let's define the genre then, right?
Yeah.
The genre where, I mean, maybe this is unfair or only categorizing a specific era of these kinds of games, but I feel like it is not an adventure game one solves with logic. It is an adventure game one solves with clicking every option on everything, and that is the game design.
Yeah.
It's kind of a more menu-driven hidden object game, ultimately.
Yeah.
Phoenix Wright.
Or our hidden object games, less menu-driven adventure games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and quite often that is true. Just to be clear, I do not dislike, and in fact am sometimes quite interested in hidden object games. I think they have a pretty neat thing going. But yeah, the big distinction is that you have to look around at and talk to everything. And so there's a menu that says, go here, look at that. So I guess to me, the big distinction is the menu-driven aspect. But it's ultimately a list that you're kind of going down.
Well, I disagree because a hidden object game, you can look and find the object once. You know, the distinction's really clear. Whereas in a Japanese adventure game, you might like look at table and it'll be like, I don't see anything, right? And then you might like touch lamp, right? And something happens. And then you have to think to look at table again. You know what I mean? Like it's not clear. You've exhausted.
Yeah, well, I think I meant between American adventure games. That was the distinction I was saying. But I guess that's not true either. That the menu drivenness, because in Monkey Island you still have your look and walk commands and all those things.
You just have visuals for you have sprites walking around and stuff, but it's ultimately the same.
I guess also first person. These Japanese adventure games tend to be first person. You're looking out of your character's eyeballs, and in the American ones you tend to be looking at a side view of yourself.
Your guy walks around.
And again, like I might be, pigeonholing the genre into an era or something, but I think of them as being extremely linear. I don't think of them as having branching things to do. I think of them as being sort of one locked door at a time.
Yeah.
There are definitely some branchy ones, but I would say the larger portion of them are telling a linear story, and you're unlocking the key to the next section.
We're talking about gameplay differences sort of a lot, but also presentationally, Snatcher and Policenauts, if we're just looking at those two. One of the biggest, most prolific, profound mechanisms in those games is the cutscenes, right? Mm. And you really enjoy watching the cutscenes, and they're really exciting. So I think calling them cinematic adventure games is an idea.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I don't think of something like Monkey Island as cinematic so much. Right. Not in a bad way.
I don't think of Portopia or like Princess Tomato that way either.
Yeah.
I will say that a 1996 issue of Next Generation magazine called this genre a graphic adventure.
No, that's Monkey Island.
Graphic adventure is something I've heard people describe point and click adventures by, but it's like we can't just call all of those point and click games games, because a real-time strategy is also a point and click game, right? So
Quake is a point and click game.
Yeah, Quake is a mouse and keyboard. Quake is you use some
But you do
keys.
Point and click quite a lot.
Yeah, it is true. But I mean, I've also argued in the past, in the middle of a live stream that ended up getting some hateful comments, I said, up to a certain point, Call of Duty is just a hidden object game.
Sure.
Because it's kind of hard to see your opponents, and you have to shoot them, and you just have to find them. It's a real-time, high-speed hidden object game.
Yeah, they have a mode that's literally about
genre is meaningless, is what we're getting at here.
I call them Japanese adventure game. I don't know if
that's what I've been calling them. But as of spring 2023, it's problematic to just use the word Japanese to stand in at the beginning of a genre. Mm-hmm. You have to be more descriptive now.
I've been wondering if there's a single word shorthand for menu driven that we could use, so we could say cinematic menu driven adventure game without using menu driven, because that doesn't sound good.
I think ideally in a perfect world, you get 2 words and then the word game. Role playing game, right? I guess stylish hard action game is 3 words. But people made fun of that one. It was too much.
Menu adventure game. It doesn't sound exciting.
Menu story.
Yeah.
Menu story game. MSG.
It's not choice because you're not making choices.
No.
You're just poking at things until the story evolves.
A selection adventure.
What about like cinematic investigative adventure, something like that?
Is Princess Tomato and Portopia cinematic?
No. So
That's our buzzer. We're out of time.
I
think there's a couple of fundamental differences between Portopia and Snatcher, but who really knows what they are?
I got a question.
Okay.
Is Palworld satire?
No. Because South Park isn't satire. South Park is like everyone's wrong for trying. And Palworld is closer to that. It's like ironic in the Alanis Morissette sense. Just the idea of what if it was Pokemon with guns. It's kind of a lol meme. I don't know, maybe it's a meme type thing. Like when Tim was talking about how showing Video Ball and kids would come up and be like, wow, this would be sick if you put memes in it.
Yeah.
Those kids got older and made Palworld.
Well, Palworld is made in Japan, isn't it? So
yes,
just throw the whole phone book out the window now, right? It's like our superior Nihon has uragiru us.
Yeah.
Like we thought they would only make the purest and most beautiful video games. No, they made Pokemon with guns.
Yeah, and to me, it makes sense that this is finally happening because where are NFTs like released with no irony and no pushback? Where is AI just exciting? AI art generation. Where is crypto just pretty cool? All of those things, the answer is Japan.
Much as a person you can't fight an idea, you can't run from an idea, all the stuff you can't do to an idea. It turns out ideas are also objects of invention or commodity, and some places just don't have them, you know?
Yeah.
Like they don't, it's like we didn't have gigabit internet in my house for a while. And there was nothing I could do about it. In Japan, maybe they just, some people just, maybe they don't have the friends who don't like crypto.
Yeah.
Friends who are critical crypto.
It's very, very clear. Like
Critical.
I don't know if you've seen, like, it took until that recent earthquake and typhoon, or earthquake and tsunami for people that I know on Twitter in Japan to be like, wait, I think something's wrong with Twitter. Maybe things are going south.
Oh, yeah.
It took until that event happened and then Twitter was like breaking down for them that they were like, oh, maybe something's going wrong since the changeover.
They missed the warning signs.
So it's just like there's a different level of online that's happening over there and it doesn't have the same pushback from left-wing weirdos as we got over here in these United States and I think Palworld is the result of that. Like
I think Palworld is it's an avalanche of cynicism, both as an object of creativity and every single reaction that has happened to it on and off the record everywhere.
I was reading something about how they had a hard time finding someone who was interested in shooting games in Japan to work on it. And then they found a guy who worked in a convenience store who was a hobbyist and who was obsessed with guns. And they were like, this is our guy. We found him.
Yeah.
Oof.
It's just kind of it's just a woefully, as the kids today would say, just a cursed object.
Yeah.
The whole game. I have seen some of just the worst sides of the worst people in the past couple of days because of this thing.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, the canary died in the elevator down to the mine, basically, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
The canary didn't even get into the mine, is what I'm saying, as far as the discourse on this Palworld game. But it's like anyone saying, I think these Pokemon are kind of plagiarized. And then immediately a verified guy whose Twitter handle is something like Games Master Television or whatever. And he's got 112 followers and he's verified and he's following 92,000 people. And his pinned tweet is about his crypto mint. We're minting next week, everybody. His reply is just like, oh, nature should sue Nintendo for infringing the copyright of a wolf. And it's like,
Yeah.
there are conversations that we should have invented the way to have happen, and I feel like we kind of did. And then somebody uninvented it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does kind of remind me of the conversations that were happening around AI art, where, for example, the person who was doing live drawing stuff on a stream, and then someone decided to use AI to finish that drawing, and then claimed that was theirs now, and tried to sue and harass the person who hadn't finished the drawing yet, because they had finished it first with their AI thing.
So many people have pointed out how impossible it would be for this Palworld to actually just be AI-generated Pokemon clones.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the AI defenders have kind of clamped on to the ankle of that conversation. Mm-hmm. They're holding on for dear life. They're strong-jawed defenders of AI. Verify it on Twitter, etc. They clamped on to the ankles of the conversation. They're loving the idea that AI experts are saying AI couldn't do this, because now it's their thing.
Yeah.
Someone whose politics I sort of agree with says this about this thing, and it seems like it's not something I would enjoy, but it lets me dunk on a person who voted for somebody that I didn't, or whatever. And it's just like, there's just almost no way to have an honest conversation in anonymous public anymore. And Palworld is it's kind of the gamer's reckoning to that.
Yeah.
An object, it's an object of great interest to me, this particular gamer's reckoning.
And it's incredibly popular on Steam.
It's very popular.
Doing very
Something
well.
like 8 million sales or whatever.
Yeah.
I think the peak concurrent, which is like the stat, is the number 2 Steam game of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, we can be upset about it all we want, but
well, that's
the fact is it's happening.
Well, we'll have
there.
none of this. You don't need to be a comic Zack Snyder Cut Avatar guy is mad at Martin Scorsese for 7 consecutive years because of something he said about comic book movies about Palworld. I think we're all adults here, and we can say this thing sucks. Who cares if it's popular? Right.
Well, sure. But it being popular is why we're talking about it. So I just had to bring it up.
Pokemon Go was popular. And you know what? That was as cynical as Palworld. Pokemon Go was as cynical as Palworld. That's me trying to be trying to say something controversial here. But it's also substantial. I mean, it was just Pokemon sticker just kind of, pasted on to the side of some, we got this GPS software. What can we do with it? And Nintendo, they just kind of they endorsed that check, and it's just a stupid thing, and it barely has a game, but people love it. It's okay to say it's stupid, and it's also okay to acknowledge that it's okay for people to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Thing looks dumb as heck, that Palworld.
It's not my pal.
Now is the perfect time to say on this podcast definitively that Fortnite is really good.
Okay.
Fortnite, I mean, I've always kind of thought Fortnite was really good.
Fortnite, aka Ntsc World.
Yeah, now it's time to just say Fortnite is pretty good.
You were really hoping to get that NTSC World joke in there however you could, were you, Brandon?
Oh, actually, it only came to me in the last 10 seconds.
Okay.
So, believe it or not. But I was thinking about CCAM World earlier.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Here is my next topic. I would like you all to invent a new speedrunning category.
Okay, so recently there was the dog run that was pretty cool. I don't know if y'all saw that.
What's the dog run?
Guy trained his dog, Peanut Butter,
to
act as Rob in a game of Gyromite.
Yeah, so the dog is like pressing pedals that the guy has made. And one of the key features is that there's a dog there. And I liked that part. Mm-hmm. And what a patient dog. Did it for like 30 minutes, that thing.
Yeah, that dog was so good that like I almost don't like it.
It's confusing.
Too good a dog.
It's like I didn't see any dog in that dog.
Now, the dog should at some point take that thing and with its teeth and just throw it across the room.
That dog didn't have that dog in it.
Yeah.
Peanut Butter's a creep.
What kind of dog was the dog?
It was a Shiba Inu.
Some the most Palworld type of dog.
That's right.
I wonder if that's some kind of commentary on what happens to a game when you speed run it to its absolute most optimized, that you drain the humanity from it.
I've often said that one of my favorite speedruns is there's a tool-assisted speedrun where on the title screen of Super Mario Brothers 3, they do a series of quick inputs that triggers the ending.
Oh yeah, that exists for Pokemon too.
I love that speedrun because it's just like, now what? This is the logical endpoint. What are you going to do now?
And I, on the other hand, do not like that speedrun because it's so boring to watch, and I like watching interesting speedruns.
Right, but my point, that's my point. That
Yeah.
is the logical endpoint of the trigger the ending as quick as you can tool-assisted speed.
Yeah, skip the game.
That is now a boring category. This is where you're going with this. You
Right,
know what
sure.
I mean?
Okay, I see what you mean. I feel like it's probably per game, but there's got to be some ones where it's like, unlock this weird character and then beat it as them or something. Like things where you get to see all the interesting parts of the game very quickly. I like those. I guess recently there was a thing where someone was very excited about finding out there was like a human way possibly to get this really difficult star in Super Mario 64, which was previously thought to be like you had to wait on these platforms for a long time. But there was a way for tool-assisted speedruns to do frame-perfect jumps up this tower or whatever to get there. But then humans started to be able to do it.
That's every summoning salt video right there. You just did all of them. Yeah. No offense, they're all great videos. Actually.
But fastest beating Sonic while keeping him on screen is like something.
Okay, so that is now no screen warp or whatever.
Yeah, no screen wrap,
Yeah,
no zips.
that's what I'm looking for.
I was thinking Sonic, like I think a funny category would be Sonic until you get to Labyrinth Zone, because that's when I stopped playing. So that's just a new category.
Yeah, maybe we should be thinking of more fun and funny categories.
I'm also thinking of like maybe a JRPG where you do something ridiculous to like the final boss, like you
turn him into a frog.
Throw a coin at him or something. I don't know.
Those kinds of things are pretty fun. Where it's like all frog run, and you have to turn every enemy into a frog, and some of them are really difficult to do that too, or whatever. That kind of stuff is.
Or like maybe there's a game with social aspects, and it's like quickest to make this character hate you.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe there's actually really interesting tech there, right? I mean, I'm thinking of that Konami game that Tim likes a lot. There might be
is there a Tokimeki speedrun?
Oh, sure.
I mean, possibly, but it's could be something glitchy.
Well, yeah, it's going to be glitchy no matter what eventually.
Yeah, I'm sure there's that game's got so much stuff in it that I'm sure there's some glitches.
I love Castlevania or like Igavania tool-assisted speedruns or even regular speedruns because so often they go off the map or fly around and do some weird stuff, but the character's always on screen and you can see the player has to do the movements and so it never gets boring to me because I'm like, oh yeah, they're doing stuff. I see it. It's there.
Yeah, speedruns can be hard to watch when you don't know what the player is doing on screen.
So maybe there's like, I don't know, I'm thinking of like Shenmue. Maybe there's like kind of an expensive item at the candy store. It takes a while to save up for it. Like maybe it's a speedrun to buy that thing.
Mm-hmm. An interesting speedrun would be, I think we talked about it on here, someone playing Shenmue calendar-wise, like trying to do a day in Shenmue every day.
Yeah, we spoke about that.
And to keep the speed run, like you're trying to do what you can do in that day as fast as possible, but you still have to do it day by day.
As little time as possible each day.
The entire year's added up.
Yeah.
That is the submission time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's an endurance challenge.
Okay, I like this one. Like, now, does the time between play sessions count into the total time?
I think no.
Then it is just a speed run of Shenmue just broken up then, right? But if
maybe that's less
calendar
interesting.
Time counts, there's strategy to like
when you wake up,
starting at 11 p.m. on the first day and ending like as close as you can.
Yeah, actually, maybe that makes it more interesting, and you have to kind of plan your day, and you like do it during leap year or whatever, you know, for extra frames.
I think this concept has fallen apart a little.
Daylight savings time gets in there.
But I like the spirit of this one though. Like
Yeah.
I think a speed run category that actually cannot be completed in one session.
Mhm.
That has a time that's in like weeks.
Oh, like speedrunning one of those mobile games where you have to buy energy, but you're not allowed to buy energy.
I mean, speedrunning the latest Animal Crossing game with a specific goal in mind, like build a convenience store or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
Did you all know this about this new Assassin's Creed Animal Crossing game, which came out 4 years ago, right? So
Yeah.
if you haven't been spoiled on it, it starts with you arriving on a deserted island with a couple of friends and a tent. And if you play it long enough, you've built a whole little miniature sort of Tokyo suburb with paved streets and parking lots and convenience stores and vending machines. And they notoriously gate you in the first 17 days of the game or something, where you can only make so much progress per day, to the point where mainstream reviews such as IGN advocated, they tell you in the first paragraph, skip forward with your clock so you can unlock all this stuff on day one. So they call that time traveling in the Animal Crossing community. So in no time traveling Animal Crossing
Speedrun.
yeah, get to the end of Animal Crossing New Horizons, that could be a thing.
I imagine you'd want to start the game at like 11:58 p.m. so that you can do everything you need to do on day one before getting into day two.
Yeah, well, I think you have to sleep and wake up. I think it has to be like after 5 a.m. for the next day to start.
Okay, so you would have to start your run at like 4:55 a.m.
There is a very Zynga-esque complex sort of day-night cycle kind of baked into that game. It's quite magnificent. I mean, I think it's too much, and I think it just kind of becomes a job. So I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, that's when I stopped playing.
Oh wait, here's another little thing, which is that I recently was excited when I was watching a tool-assisted speedrun, and someone had done cute little drawings for every stage of Splatterhouse. So, speedrun and draw a cute little illustration of each stage while you're doing it.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, yeah, maybe there is the sort of go that angle of like there's an external component,
A
Mhm.
creative
like the dog,
aspect.
right?
Yeah, an extra thing you got to do.
But when you're speedrunning it, then that's all about meeting the bare minimum threshold. So it's going to stop at what point does that picture at the barest point represent what you're supposed to be painting.
Yeah, which could be
But
fun.
who's the judge there? That Twin Galaxies guy?
It's me.
You've got your 100% speed runs. You've got your any percent speed runs. Let's start seeing some new percentages.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. Exactly.
Everyone does 69%.
Metroid's got a bunch of those. All the Metroids.
that's true.
Does it have an exactly 50%?
I don't know if it has an exactly 50%.
See, that's what we need.
Oh,
then.
I like that idea.
We need the exactly 50% speed run.
You got to strategize exactly what points of the game you're going to do and
Breath
not
of the
do.
Wild has 120 shrines. I did 60 before I fought the final boss. I was like, I'm going to do exactly 60 and then leave the other 60 completely unknown to myself. I will never know them. I will die
Not knowing them.
not knowing what any of those 60 other shrines are. And it worked out very well for me. But someone who is a complete freak who wants to do a Breath of the Wild 50% shrines speed run could be good. Because then they'd have to pick the 50 shrines that can be beaten the fastest.
Right. What are the 50 easiest shrines? What's the easiest route?
that would be really interesting.
Or the 60 shrines.
Yeah, no, that's actually, I think that's the best answer because a good speed run is based on evolved routing.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there'd be a community aspect where
Yeah.
people are choosing what's your deck, like building a Magic the Gathering deck. Like what's your what are your 60 shrines? What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
I really like that.
like there's going to be a new optimization like weekly for probably years in a 50%.
Let's start seeing 50% runs at GDQ. I'm all about this. We'll be right back after a quick break. Oh, I'd like to resolve a hanging plot thread from last week. I did, in fact, stand up the books on my bookshelf. Thank you very much. And now, the result of it is, I think I need more books. So please donate to patreon.com/insertcredit or consider sponsoring the show by writing us at show@insertcredit.com so you can pay for me to fill my bookshelf with more books. Thank you. It's time to go to Carl's Bad Cavern. This is the point of every episode where I go take a question submitted to us at patreon.com/insertcredit, where for mere $1 a month, you can get access to this form, monthly bonus episodes, and other intriguing surprises. This week's question comes from Stephanie, who asks, what's a video game unsolved mystery or urban legend that you want solved or confirmed?
Oh.
Interesting. Frank, you should know some of these, but you've solved a lot of them already.
Sure. I don't know that this is solvable. I think it's just cut content. But are you aware of the missing little girl in Red Dead Redemption 2?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not.
You're familiar with that, Tim? There's so many YouTube videos about this, and like they keep just finding new clues. But essentially, if I'm remembering right, there's a town in this game where someone at the bar mentions that a little girl's missing. And there's, I think, like one of the pawn shops, the guy in the pawn shop has some dialogue that kind of insinuates that he might have had something to do with or has information about this missing little girl. And data miners have found the model for this missing little girl.
Oh.
And that's it. Like, that's what we got.
Yeah, that's pretty
That's
fun.
this game's Bigfoot.
There's like an upstairs area in this pawn shop that you cannot access that maybe has something to do with it. There's some additional dialogue that no one's figured out how to trigger about to this girl. It's probably just cut content that didn't get cut all the way, but it has inspired a lot of people to obsess about this missing girl in this game, and I think that's really
fun.
neat.
As more time passes from the release of that game, it's just more and more clear that it's like
She died.
They did some stuff in that game that's pretty neat. They hid a lot of stuff in that game, so it's like very possible. It's very possible to imagine some solution to the mystery. Finding her corpse or whatever.
That's what makes it so compelling. Exactly.
Yeah.
There are just, I have watched like a 4-hour video of like hidden Easter eggs in Red Dead Redemption 2, and my mind was blown by most of them.
Yeah.
You know? Like that game is just jam packed with that sort of thing. So yeah, exactly. Like it's really easy to buy into the idea that like, well, that we just haven't figured out how to trigger this yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's real fun to just play that game and just hang out in it, play it like a cowboy MMO simulator sort of game, and accidentally find some stuff every once in a while and feel like you're the first person to find it. You probably aren't, but you always feel there's a sense of discovery in there that you don't get in, for example, Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Have you all seen the photos of Bigfoot is just black bears?
No.
I believe that.
Check out what I just dropped in the chat, and you will see photos of Bigfoot that are just black bears. And this came up when there was a study that found Bigfoot sightings correlate with black bear populations as well. But if you look at these photos, it's like, oh, there's Bigfoot in his pose. Like, there he is.
That's Bigfoot.
It's just these bears walking on their hind legs with their long dangly arms. It's hilarious and ridiculous. But anyway, urban legends and whatnot.
Well, it's unsolved mysteries.
Right, unsolved mysteries.
So my number one most unsolved mystery, and this is probably going to get me landed in some hot water for even bringing this up, but I'm going to do it.
Why does David Cage have a career?
It's a real one. This is not a David Cage joke. I'm not going to make one of those today.
Not today.
It's a New Year's resolution. We break your resolution for a couple of weeks and then
you get back to it.
Bring it back. My actual something again. I'm going to get landed in hot water for suggesting this, but I really want to know if somebody at Nintendo did tell that kid in The Wizard where the warp whistle was in the first Fortress of Super Mario Brothers 3, because I don't.
Yeah, there's no way.
If he was able to find it like that,
first time like that,
yeah,
impossible.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, the odds are just astronomical. He would actually have to be a literal wizard.
Yeah,
there are a bunch of doors that I have been curious about that. Clearly, there was supposed to be stuff behind them, and they just didn't have time to build it. So the answer is, unfortunately, just that. But I continue to be curious about what could have been there. Like, there's one in Sylvan Tale. There's one in Phantom Dust. Doors that have all the visual mechanisms of being openable and leading to a new zone. But
I've got a YouTube channel for you. It's called Boundary Break.
yeah,
And the answer every time is there's nothing back there.
yeah. Well, there was a lot of stuff in PT.
Okay, sure. That
was pretty. They like got out into the town out there. There wasn't too much of it, but that's pretty neat. I do love seeing those kind of boundary break things. I had to stop watching them on my actual YouTube account so that I wouldn't get more recommendations. But
yeah, that's always a danger.
I have a similar thing with a channel called Odd Header. I don't like the guy's shtick, but he has sort of a community of people who give him some interesting, weird mysteries in games. And they're occasionally actually weird and interesting, but the shtick gets old because it's just like, it's very like early 2000s internet writing where it's like, it made me tear out my eyeballs because it was so gross. You know?
Right, yeah.
The angry gamer.
Sean Baby's new gig, is that what it is?
And kind of the opposite of what we're talking about is, what's his name? John what's it? Telltale guy who does his Game Hut secrets. He reveals the secrets of how he did all these interesting things, and so I like that as a counterpoint. It's not it's a solved mystery. He's going around solving the mysteries he created.
He should have called that channel Telltale Out of School.
Yeah, maybe he should have.
No.
Yeah, that's
sorry, it's Traveler's Tales is the name of his company.
Now I'm
all right.
Yeah,
sorry, I messed it up.
Yeah, he's going into his own source code and telling you how he did things.
So Traveler's Tales Out of School.
No, that doesn't work at all.
Yeah, well, actually, it works better because it does. It's not as close and it's worse.
Oh Lord.
It's always, in the case of jokes like that, it's always better if it's a little bit worse. Otherwise, it looks like you are slamming your forehead against the low-hanging fruit until it hits the ground.
Yeah, I guess so.
But that is there not a warthog's joy even in that, right? So, who amongst us has not slammed their forehead against a pear until it fell onto the floor?
I do it every day.
Certainly I have.
Here's my next question. Which individual video game enemy has killed the greatest number of players globally?
Probably first Goomba in Mario.
Yeah, I was going to say, just a Goomba.
Still, though?
Yeah.
It's been a while. Do people still play Super Mario Brothers 1?
Maybe you don't live in one, and maybe you don't exist solely in one, but there's a chance that your life involves an echo chamber somewhere. Because I've seen people die against that first Goomba somewhat recently. Yes, you'd think people would. It's been coming up on 40 years. People know where the jump button is. Ha ha.
No, I'm just saying not as many people play Super Mario Brothers 1 as they used to.
Oh, they do. It's on that Nintendo Switch Online.
But lifetime, and if we're going by Tim's definition, which is like a specific placement and not just a Goomba, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
I think statistically, it's, I bet statistically, it's just people who have died to it once. I'm trying to think of like one of the 4 Pac-Man ghosts might be more than the first Goomba.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who's the deadliest Pac-Man ghost?
Well, that one...
Clyde is the hardest to predict.
That doesn't mean that most people have died to it, though, right? Most people might have died to the one that just, like, is most often on you first.
Yeah. So Inky's the stupidest one, but they're the first one on the screen.
Is there no chance that an Elden Ring boss could have killed more people because so many people have played it recently?
How many people have played Elden Ring?
The famously hard Elden Ring boss, Malenia, is like, you got to play like 80 hours to get there.
And so then you're probably pretty good by then.
The average player does die against her a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to include in my calculus the number of times you die against the enemy. It's not just one person per
saying, yeah. There's a larger number of people who
have gotten to the very start of Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, it's a pretty ungodly number, especially when you consider the fact that when video games were brand new, gamers didn't exist as a subculture. So all the people who bought a Nintendo Entertainment System in Super Mario Brothers, there was a chance they had friends and family members who they invited over socially to play the game. So it's not just even a copies sold issue at that point. We're talking possibly billions of people have played Super Mario Brothers.
Going along where Frank was with Pac-Man, early arcade games are a good place, though maybe not enough people played them. But like Space Invaders, you do get killed by a space invader. That's how the game ends. When you die or it gets turned off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but which Space Invader, right? Like, it's just law of averages at this point.
Right.
Like, that's where I was getting at with the 4 ghosts.
Yeah,
versus
for
the one
arcade
Koopa.
games,
Yeah.
maybe the biggest killer would be Donkey Kong, because it's always the same Donkey Kong who kills you.
Yeah.
Okay, are there more?
Can't you beat Donkey Kong?
Every barrel thrown by Donkey Kong is a kill by Donkey Kong.
I think the most prolific mass murderer in the history of video games is the entire human race. Basically, anyone who's ever played Tetris, because you always lose at Tetris, and it's you.
And it's
But
you.
it's not,
You're,
okay, so
you're the one who killed you.
So give us the actual wording of the question again, just to make sure I got this right.
Okay. I would like to know which individual video game enemy has killed the greatest number of guys globally.
Okay. I mean, I went to best-selling games of all time. Listed on Wikipedia. Yeah, several things
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Well, sure. I mean, there's okay. So like Minecraft's number 1, Grand Theft Auto 5's number 2, but I just think that it doesn't get until Super Mario Brothers that there's like a specific enemy placement that has killed many people.
Yeah.
So I think I still think it's.
You think it's
either
Goomba
Super
1?
Mario Brothers or it's like one of the Pac-Man ghosts across all of the Pac-Man games across all of history.
Yeah.
The greatest killer is Goomba 1.
Yeah, I mean, if it's, if we're talking individual enemy placements, yeah, I would say that. But also, if we
Silent
wanted to
Assassin.
actually just do raw numbers,
Like raw numbers of how many deaths have been in a
Yeah, how
game.
many
It's
deaths have
probably
happened.
Minecraft or it's probably
Yeah.
Minecraft actually.
I mean, Fortnite, 99 players die every game in Fortnite.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's against other players, so it's not a video
Yeah,
game.
but I mean, well, we could say that Fortnite player is the
Yeah, I feel like that's a different category. That's than video
that's
game.
like what game has
enemy.
killed the most people
Yeah,
as opposed
yeah.
to what enemy in a game.
I think there's certainly an argument to be made that that Fortnite player is a video game enemy for
Sure.
people who don't even really know the people know it's online, but people who there's people in real life who consider other humans to be NPCs, right? So I mean,
In the same sense that Villager is a Smash Brothers character.
yeah,
All right. I think I'm going to go with Goomba 1 on this.
the real winner is Tom Nook because more people quit Animal Crossing than play it.
That's the same as Steph.
Surprisingly.
If you could swap any 2 sound effects in any 2 video games, what would they be?
Well,
Oh yeah.
Wahoo and Yippee.
going down the pipe and getting hit.
Oh, very good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Keep it on Super Mario 1 for a minute, Charles. I would just put Mario Takes Damage dot wave as the Sonic gets hit sound when Sonic gets hit and loses all his rings.
And then Mario makes the noise when he gets it.
I was going to say you just replace every sound effect in Sonic with the whoa.
I mean, I'd take the Sonic sound being put back into Mario, but then I just wouldn't play Mario. If that makes sense. I think that the Sonic losing all his rings sound effect is gutless, joyless, spineless, shrill. It's an awful sound. I think Sonic picking up a ring is an awful sound. Everything in the game sounds beautiful. Why does that sound so bad?
If we go back to the unsolved mysteries, we could create one by swapping one of the Mario sounds in Super Mario Brothers Wonder with one of the ones from Super Mario 64, and just have one Charles Martinet sound effect in there, and have people wonder why
Which
forever.
one?
I think it would be Mario Takes Damage.
Yeah.
They'd figure it out, but
Does it sound like really compressed? I mean, yeah.
yeah. Oh, you could get the raw original files, and so
Okay. I didn't know.
yeah,
That was cool.
yeah, we have them.
Can't go too wrong with the single wah in Mario 64. Just him going wah.
Part of this exercise is finding 2 sound effects that would feel right when you swap them. You're not making a sacrifice. You're making an exchange.
I mean, it's not them feeling right. It's switching one over to a game that I just don't play anymore. Would
Yeah.
be
Here's the secret. I think that you could switch most sound effects in games from before 1995 and nobody would ever notice. If they hadn't already played it, they would never notice. We think that they are this sound because that's where we heard it. But otherwise, all bets are off. Could have
A
been
lot
anything.
of video games were also trying to sound alike at that
There's
time.
only so many ways to make a jump sound, right? I was trying to come up with I've been workshopping the joke answer, and it probably involves the blood-curdling human scream that happens when you fall off the screen in Impossible Mission. The Commodore 64/NES game, but I don't know. Is it funny to replace Mario's jump with that? I think it's actually pretty irritating.
Yeah.
There's a pretty good YouTube video where someone replaced every sound effect in Morrowind with Tim Allen's grunt. I kind of liked that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
People they like the big gesture on the YouTube, don't they?
Me too.
They like the big gesture
that you can put easily in a headline for a video, so you know what it is when you click on it.
I have a really good suggestion, but it's like I don't want to say it because it's a spoiler for
It's
something.
too good.
Yeah, that I've been working on for several months.
Yeah.
So just letting everybody know.
Thanks.
Just cutting that one out. Not gonna spoil it. There's just a joy in knowing that the thing is executed as well as it possibly can be in an Adobe Premiere project file that no one aside from myself has seen. You know, it's fun.
I think it would be funny to change the food pickup sound in
Streets of
Rage
Rage
with Axel's da 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 da. And so when he picks up the food, he's really excited about it, is what it sounds like. And then when he does his attack, it's just like whoop.
That's pretty good.
Oh, you know
I'd
what?
enjoy it.
It'd be really funny if every time Earthworm Jim jumped, it sounded like a fart. What do you think?
That would be
that's pretty good.
really
Pretty good.
funny.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, I got another question for you.
But what if it was like 80 different farts?
All right.
And they played them randomly.
Okay, before I ask
Or
this,
all at the same time.
before I ask this, I want you to really think about this question.
No deal.
So don't just come up with your first answer. Just think
No
about
deal.
the question when I ask it.
Earthworm Jim fart.
No,
Yeah, what do you got?
I'm going to be really mad if you just say Batman.
Batman.
So here's my question. Who is the Batman of video games?
Oh.
Okay.
So Batman is a comic book character who's gone through many different ages and iterations and reiterations and reinterpretations.
He's kind of a detective always, sort of, kind of.
He's been a noir detective. He's been a circus acrobat. He's been an adopted parent. He's been all sorts of things.
Maybe considered at his best when all of those things are acknowledged as being part of him.
Yeah. He's had several movies where he's been a ninja, where he's been Michael Keaton, where he's quoted Prince, where he's been played by Robert Pattinson. He's been played by George Clooney. The many directors have they've broken ground on visual styles and aesthetics that would endure for a generation of filmmakers with Batman movies, right? Batman Begins introduced a whole kind of comic book movie concept to people. There you go. That's what I think Batman is. What's that of video games? Tetris?
Is it Mario? I mean, Mario's been a lot of things and has set tones for multiple generations of visuals and formats.
But they've never been acknowledged at the same time. You know,
Mario.
He's a Popeye who has a different role.
That's true.
every
So
time.
is it Sonic then?
Oh, sure.
'Cause Sonic is always trying to be all the things. No, it's not Sonic. I know it's
Sonic's not a blockbuster the way Batman is.
Yeah.
And even the Spider-Man video games aren't the Batman of video games. The Batman has this cultural. He's got a kind of a literature-esque background story. There's kind of some sometimes half-hearted, sometimes less than half-hearted social commentary in there surrounding the idea of him being a rich boy. Is he a Republican? Maybe.
What is it? Grand Theft Auto? But that's not a character. That's a franchise.
Every time there's a new Batman movie, a huge number of people are like, another one already? So, in other words, I hate to say it, David Cage. I'm just kidding. Every time you see he's working on something.
Breaking that resolution.
We got a double cage today, folks. It's
Yeah,
a rare
yeah.
one. We got the double cage.
You know what? I wish that David, instead of his brother Johnny, it was David in Mortal Kombat, so I could uppercut him into the pit and have somebody say Toasty and have Reptile come out and eat his skull.
Actually, that makes me think,
I think it's Tetris.
could it be Mortal Kombat? Because that does have a sort of a literary background of, I mean, not high literature, but something. Every time it comes out lately, people are like, another one?
I don't think
People
that's a defining characteristic of Batman worth considering.
Right.
No. But it is like genre defining and all of these things.
I read somewhere once that the Joker is the Hamlet of modern movies. That's Alex Jaffe said that. And it's true, because the Joker's now won 2 Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And every big name actor, Jack Nicholson played the Joker. Every big name actor wants to be the Joker. It's the role now. So there's also that aspect too.
I don't
I
think
don't think
that
Nicholson wanted to be. For what
I don't think Mortal
He
Kombat
fooled
is
me.
a bad answer, because it does do the defining visuals of an era kind of thing to an extent, because it had the digitized graphics, and then it had the ultra hyper realism.
I think, okay, maybe a fun angle is, what's the Tim Burton's Batman of movies or of video games? What's the Tim Burton? What's the Frank Miller's Batman of video games? What's the Batman Begins of video games? Start to triangulate these, right? Just focusing on the movies, right?
I think if we're going the overall one, what I focus on is that he's basically a modern myth, right? And in video games, I don't think there's a character that fits that. I almost want to say Miyamoto is Batman. You know, because he does have all these characteristics. He's someone that we tend to think of as immortal.
Yeah, he's untouchable. We can't go talk to him.
His ideas are everywhere. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
Wears a cape.
He's a detective.
in terms of theme and structure and literary background and like narrative arcs, definitely the Assassin's Creed heroes are the most interesting interpretations of Batman characters in video games. They're very much Batman vigilante narratives. The game Watch Dogs it really feels like they started from the experiment. What if Batman was real? You know? So Ubisoft is Ubisoft Batman? I don't know.
That's led Batman.
Yeah, that one Assassin's Creed guy who's like the Assassin's Creed guy in
It's Miyamoto.
modern times. It's Miyamoto's wife.
Is Miyamoto really Batman?
No.
I mean, I've never seen him in the same room.
It's true.
I don't know. There's never been a blockbuster movie made about his nemesis, for example. Sonic.
Gunpei Yokoi.
Gunpei Yokoi, who was killed by the Yakuza.
Right.
Right.
That's not true, by
It's
the
not
way.
true.
That's a video game urban myth that won't go away. I've seen it quoted as recently as
He
last
just
month.
died tragically.
You ever seen a Japanese highway? They're really narrow, man. It sucks, but it's intensely, ridiculously disrespectful to constantly see people, again, verified Twitter users with like rabies.com as their display name or whatever. Be like, did you know Gunpei Yokoi, inventor of the Game Boy, was killed by the Yakuza? And it's just like, and then, I didn't know this. Oh my God. Hundreds of people.
There was a Japanese DJ electronic music producer called Blasterhead who did a song called Gunpei Yokoi is Still Alive, which is a cool name for a song and a pretty cool song. And then that guy died. So you can add that to your conspiracy if you want.
Yeah, or just don't.
Or don't. I mean, you definitely shouldn't, obviously.
Somebody should check on the Bela Lugosi's dead guy.
So, I mean, my question is, how old was Miyamoto when Gunpei Yokoi was struck down in that alley is the question.
Yeah.
Was he a child? Because if so, he's Batman.
He found Gunpei Yokoi's
I'm sorry, I have
pearls.
the definitive answer.
What
Okay.
is
Let's do it.
I'm going to post it in the chat.
Gex, Bubsy.
Oh boy. If this is Batman, I'm going to be so mad.
There's a game developer called Bruce Wayne with 2 N's.
Oh, that's it.
That's
Yeah. He worked on Def Jam. He worked on MLB. He worked on
I'm
Juice.
looking at his full game credits,
Yeah.
and the Batman Arkham trilogy is not listed because he worked on them in secret.
That's right.
Mhm.
I guess he's got to be a music producer is what
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah.
Seems like. Good enough for
Def
me.
Jam Fight for New York's pretty cool.
Bruce Wayne, a.k.a. Wayne Nugent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go
Oh,
ahead
God,
and
is
just change that name,
Is
I
it,
guess.
is it Ted's son, Ted Nugent's kid?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. You get Ted Nugent, you got Wayne Knight, and somehow between the two of them, you have Where am I going with this?
I don't know.
Keep going.
Hold
You're
on.
You
almost
got
there.
this. You got this, dude. It's gonna be so
Something's
good.
happening.
Okay, you
It's
got
gonna be
Wade
so
Knight.
worth it.
You got Ted, and then in the middle you have Ted Knight, who was the announcer on Super Friends, and that's who brings them all together.
Okay.
There you go.
I still don't get it, but I'm glad you got there.
Yeah, I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
Whatever we're doing.
Oh, we
next?
got there. We did it. It's time for a lightning round. We're playing Game FAQ&As. This is the game
this one.
where I go to gamefaqs.com, go to their message boards. Every single game has this Q&As board where you can ask a question. And if you're kind enough to read that question, know an answer to it, you can provide one. I've taken 10 questions from one particular game's board, which we are going to answer as snappy as we can, regardless of accuracy. This week, I have taken SimCity 2000 for the PC. We're going to answer questions about SimCity 2000. Here we go. Question 1. Why are there so many places?
For hanging out, for smoking weed.
That's capitalism for you.
Yeah. 2. How do I build a power plant?
Break a few eggs. I don't know.
Requires a lot of forms. Like a lot of forms. A lot of inspections. It's not worth it.
Just don't. 3. How do I kill the monster in the Hollywood scenario?
Well, I think they already got him.
You know, I thought Weinstein was
Weinstein's
already
in jail.
dead.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, this must be an older question. Yeah.
He didn't die.
You already got him. Was that question before 2018? Kaboom.
It might be. I think it's from 2000 because it's for SimCity 2000. Can I make this work on a 64-bit processor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know that for a fact, actually.
Yeah, you can do it.
How do I get people in my city?
Weed stores.
Wait, is that
weed stores, gummies,
is that Batman?
Cheech and
Batman's always
Chongs,
trying to get people.
weed. Just you replace. Okay. Like, look around your neighborhood. Is there a tailor shop?
Yeah.
Shut it down. Is there a dry cleaner? Shut that
Shut it down.
Is there an independently owned mom and pop pharmacy? Shut that down. Shoe repair? Shut it down.
Comic store? Shut it down.
Store that consistently sells ice cold Coca-Colas nonstop 24 hours a day? Shut that down too. Now replace literally all of them with an actual weed store. That's apparently the strategy right now in my neighborhood.
That's the speed strat, the speed weed strat.
Heart 2 vape.
They're gaming something. Any minute now, these empty giant condo towers surrounding my apartment are going to be filled up with weed customers. So there you go. Weed City 2000, Carl.
Weed City 2000. 6.
Yeah.
Why are so much of my buildings being abandoned?
Because there's no weed stores nearby. You need to open weed stores. Come on. I just covered this.
According to everything that I've seen lately, it's because of left-wing woke politics.
Oh, that must be it.
That's why all of our urban centers are getting deserted
Woke-washing.
and full of unhoused people, and everything is crime. It's only crimes.
A more serious answer would be the weed stores don't sell enough vape stuff, and it's just more like gummies and edibles.
Yeah.
So that's probably a more serious
Gotta have
answer.
the vape stuff and the bongs.
I have a suspicion I know what the answer to this one's going to be, but
Let's hear it.
is there any way to get past the 9.34 million population limit?
Well, I happen to live in a city called New York City in the state of New York, and we got weed stores, and we also have more than 9.34 million people in our greater metro area.
Yeah.
If you include, Hudson Valley and whatnot. I think we're over that.
Call it the greatest city in the world. That's the key. You do that.
Yeah. You just tell everybody.
The large apple.
Tell everybody it's the greatest city in the world. Don't fix the subways, I guess, is one way.
Yeah.
Never touch that.
3 cops for every CVS is what you need.
that's how you
Oh
do
my
it.
God. I am lately, I've hated cops for a long time, okay?
Sure.
I listened to I saw Rage Against the Machine live as a teenager.
Was Ted Cruz there?
No, he was dead.
That's
he,
good.
he wasn't Frankenstein reanimated yet. He was still a corpse in the old corpse yard.
Yeah.
He was still a corpse at that time. I've hated cops for a long time, but I have started in the past couple months just becoming so amused by their antics in person, like sitcom level.
Keystone.
Like walking into my train station where there are, for some reason, 6 cops
Yeah, just
in
standing
full
around.
Kevlar, standing there, all of them staring at their tiny old iPhones. It's just very comical to see. Just like this big old cop in full riot gear, just like tapping away on his iPhone 5. It's like very funny to me.
Have any of them been playing Candy Crush?
I don't know. I'm not going to walk up to a cop and lean over his shoulder.
You might be able to catch a glimpse from behind as you go.
I'll do that next time I steal a cop's gun.
Okay.
They love when you do that.
They're like, oh, these guys.
I have actually like walked by like the group of 6 cops or 5 cops or occasionally 8 cops and thought, if I took which one of those guns would I have to take if I wanted half of them to accidentally shoot the other half trying to shoot me.
Oh, that's the speed run.
We got it.
There.
It's like,
That's routing.
would I grab that portly fellow's gun, or would I snatch that stocky gentleman's pistol, right? Like, or would I touch Big Boy's piece, right? It's like you just have to consider like which donut eater's projectile launcher is likely to kick off the largest mass cop death in this particular subway station.
I guess you have to take the most competent cop's gun, which is going to be hard.
It's hard to tell because they all have those. I mean, we joke about calling them pigs, right? But it's because if you've ever looked one in the eye, they just have little tiny,
It's because they have cloven hooves and don't chew their cud.
Well, I was going to say they have sesame seed-sized black eyes with no lids and no brows, and it's really weird.
No ruminant system.
Yeah, so it's hard to see intelligence in the eyes of these little pinhole eyes that these
Sweat
guys
glands?
have.
Forget it. Question 8. What's best to surround my property to increase land value? Small parks, water, trees, hills, or valleys?
Weed stores?
From the things that they mentioned, it's trees.
It's trees, yeah.
It's trees.
Yeah, it is trees. You have good old trees. You got trees. A guy asked me if I had trees the other day. Yeah, it had been years since I'd been asked to.
Was he propositioning you for weed? What does that mean?
I think he was asking if I have weed or I wanted weed
to give to him.
Yeah,
but it could have been that he was reviving the 90s Got Milk commercial and was suggesting that you should buy it from him.
So I understand we've been giving the advice of build more weed stores a lot here, but if I can get serious. We might as well add a little more nuance to the weed store. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Oh, isn't it?
You want to make sure when you build the weed store that there's nothing in there inside the store but a cardboard box. Really, really nice brand new lighting. Really, really nice brand new like house flippers looking flooring. Like kind of like the gray, like grainy linoleum fake wood.
They love gray these days.
They do.
I don't know what's
all
going
the
on
houses on Zillow, it's gray now. Yeah, it's people want it to look like an English chicken McNugget, I suppose, in their house. They want to be reminded of McDonald's UK. I don't know what that joke means, but let's have a fun. Let's have a good time with it. You want inside your weed store, you want a cardboard box that has like 3 little bags of sun chips on it. And then like an 8 inches of bulletproof glass on the other side. And there's just not even a guy back there because they'll see the customer when they come in because there's security cameras, and then they can stop playing Palworld in the back room and step up to the counter to sell you what you want. But also the most important thing here is outside every weed store in your neighborhood, you need to have like the biggest dude who looks like he definitely actually was in the Navy SEALs. Yeah. And now he's just known as a guy who hangs out at the hardware store a lot. You want one of those. So surround your neighborhood
Frank,
with...
do you remember, did you ever go to the Tunnel Top bar in San Francisco? I think you did.
I don't remember it. Not by name anyway.
It's just like, it's on Grant Street, and it's like when you go under and then you're in Chinatown, but there's an overpass there and there's a bar right on top of that called Tunnel Top.
I might have gone there with you once, but that would probably be...
And I wonder if the one time you went there was when there was the bouncer outside who was incredibly Irish, had cauliflower ears and a broken nose, and was like 6'5".
Oh my God, I don't know.
Just this giant platonic ideal of a bouncer.
Oh, man.
A hardware store recently closed in my neighborhood. I wonder what it's going to be.
Okay, what's the last one?
I've got two more.
How do we answer it with Weed Store?
All right, here's my next one. I'm reading it literally as it was printed. Lost knowledge. Used to know how. Looking to build flat bridges. Anyone know?
Oh, that's interestingly not super applicable to weed. So
yeah,
I'm out of my depth here.
It almost sounds like someone who's missing real like social connection. You know?
Yeah.
I think Yoko Taro wrote that one.
Yeah.
Actually, is what it is. The answer is Play Near Automata.
Yoko Taro rules.
Sort of.
Can I just say the mask thing? Bit gauche.
Breaking your silence.
I'm breaking the silence. I just have to say something. Cat's popped up out of the bag. The jack is popping out of the box.
So I guess the answer is to erase your save file. I don't know. What are we saying here?
Yeah, something like that. Erase your save file.
I mean, again, I'm out of my depth because I don't know how to mention weed stores here.
All right. Our last question. How come I can't make money?
You got to open a weed store.
Yeah.
There we go.
Like, it's the only thing anybody's buying right now.
The answer is a link to my self-help book that costs $300.
That's right.
Chapter 1.
The real answer is capitalism.
Choosing a name for your weed store. It may be helpful to purchase a box of crayons. Your weed store name, much as Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine says, a song riff for the heaviest rock song should sound pleasant even on an acoustic guitar. The name of your weed store should look sophisticated, even written crayon. So there we go. I've started. That's how Frank's book begins, and I've got to admit it gets better from there.
You may be tempted by real estate listings with a street address of 420, but statistics have shown that this does not inherently increase the success of your weed store.
Technically, you want to be on the other side of the street. 421 or 419 will actually, against all odds, see you greater success because in the eyes of your most potently numerologically attuned customers, you exist outside the law, commemorating the legalization of our favorite plant. Right, something like that. I could go on. I've got most of the ebook memorized. I pirated it. I downloaded it from Pirate Bay, by the way.
Frank still gets royalties from that. He got a sweet deal.
I torrented the EPUB.
He makes money on every.
I could have got off Internet Archive, but that just felt too legal.
Well, also it's one of the ones where it's one loan at a time.
Yeah. All right. Well, you got anything you want to recommend to our listeners?
Oh, no.
I bought a new chair.
Yay!
Bought a new chair.
And that's good. And if you live in the Bay Area and you're the kind of person who wants to buy a chair, but you want to sit on it first, but you also don't want to spend a lot of money, check out Cantor's Office Furnishings. I forget what it's called, but it's called Cantor's. And it is a business that I passed by very regularly since I was born.
Where's that? I know I've seen it.
It's not far from the airport, but you've seen it because you pass the sign on 880
on the way to the airport.
Before you get to the airport and the Coliseum. Coliseum's on the right, the business is on the left.
Oh yeah, it's right off the freeway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, they get all these businesses are closing or downsizing and whatever. And so I just got a chair from Reddit, which is very funny because they label where the chairs are from. It just happened to be the chair that I liked sitting in the best. But yeah, you get like $1,000 chair for $200 and it's nice.
You need not go only to the office supply store that shares a name with the popular deli in Los Angeles.
No.
In any city in America, at least, there's usually places to get liquidated office furniture.
Yeah. I guess the general idea is go to a one of those warehouse liquidation zones.
Discounters, unless it happens to be the first week of the global coronavirus pandemic and you just quit your job 2 days ago and you're about to launch a Patreon, then just go ahead and buy it off of the internet, I guess.
Yeah, in that situation. That's
and
what
then
you should
wait
do.
2 months for it to arrive, which is very funny. I know that a lot of people I know, because I always recommend people get I still recommend this. When people get a Steelcase Gesture chair, that's, I believe, the gold standard of chairs. A lot of people have reported to me that they've had luck finding them at such stores, just walking in and asking if they have one. And they're often there. You can get them pretty cheap. $1,000 chair, but you can get it for, I don't know, $200.
Mm-hmm.
I got a bunch of Steelcase Leaps from a business, a startup that was shutting down in San Francisco back in 2013 when we was making a video game in my house.
Yeah, I'm sitting on one of them right now.
I didn't move that cross country. That one's from New York, believe it or not.
Ooh, a native.
Yeah.
That's right. I have one more thing, which is I mentioned that I would give a dog treat recipe. So here's the thing about this. If you have a dog and you feed your dog treats, those come in a bag, and eventually at the end you get like a bunch of what I call treat dust in the bottom of that bag. And what I like to do is combine all of those treat dusts, hold them for a while, and then I use those in a dog treat that I make, so that you're not wasting any of that delicious stuff that they enjoy. And especially, like, I don't know, I'm a vegetarian, so I want to, if an animal has died, I want to use it as much as I possibly can. So here's our recipe that we make for treats. 1 cup of flour, 1 egg, half a cup of a wet ingredient like pumpkin, or you can use yogurt or something like that. A 1/6 of a cup of peanut butter, which ultimately means like a couple big heaping tablespoons. And then all your treat dust, you know, if you got like some leftover cheese or something like that, dogs will love that. Mix it all up, put it into little kind of like cookies on a cookie sheet, then bake it at a lower medium heat for like 30 minutes, depending on how your oven works. And that'll do pretty well. Dogs love it. But the main thing is save that treat dust, put it into new dog treats that you can make.
And you call those Daddy's Dusters, right?
That's right. Yeah, we actually just call them pocket streets, but that's not as exciting as Daddy's Dusters. So
over here, we feed these dogs. They love this jerky. It's just one ingredient, dried meat.
Yeah,
and it usually ends up with a bunch of tiny fragments in the bottom of the bag. But for these dogs, a particle of about that size, a single Rice Krispie completely blows my dog's mind.
Yeah,
like he will jump and spin and run back and forth.
Yeah, they're not big animals, those ones you got.
You can just sprinkle a little dust on the ground and they'll go crazy.
Use your treat dust. That's the ultimate answer here.
I pay enough for that goddarn jerky. I might as well use the dust.
Oh, also, Tim, have you seen the Sailor Suit and Machine Gun movie?
The game?
No, it's a movie.
Oh, the movie?
I know the game is like The Maid and Machine Gun or something like that.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
So there's a movie came out in 1980, 81.
Yeah. Oh, I know this. Yeah, I know this movie.
Yeah, I finally just watched it, and it's pretty fun. I'm going to recommend that too. So that's Kikanju to Seirafuku or whatever, Seifuku. It's a game where I don't know if it's the originator of the trope, the novel upon which it's based, but a high school girl inherits a struggling Yakuza clan.
Yeah.
And various things ensue. But it's a really interesting movie to watch. It's deeply flawed in some ways, but deeply adventurous in others. The performances are very unusual and interesting, but even more interesting is the camera work, which it makes itself very known. Like there's a lot of times where the speaker is obscured by a plant in the foreground, which is just, it's very odd and kind of unnerving, but they're really into super long cuts. And there's this one scene that goes from like a shrine to walking down an alley to getting on a motorcycle and riding through the streets of 80s Tokyo. It's a neat, weird movie that you can watch. Don't expect a bunch of action, but do expect a bunch of curiousness. So give that one a shot. It's neat and weird and seems to be underappreciated for what people thought it was going to be, at least in the West. In Japan, it was a big hit. So give it a shot.
People love a big hit.
All right.
That's all I have.
Anyone else?
Oh.
It's a good thing I had 3 then.
All right. I've got a couple. Here's what I would like to recommend. First of all, I'd like to remind people that I have another podcast called 52 Pickup, where if you'd like to hear me and our friend Gita Jackson talk about one comic book from 2006 that we were kind of obsessed with and just dissect it issue by issue, that's a good place to go. We've spoken to a lot of cool people. We talked to Jeff Johns about it. We talked to Jean Lewin Yang. We talked to Josh Trujillo, the current Blue Beetle writer. A lot of other cool guests in the pipeline. Check it out.
Jeffy, did you consider counting down each episode, starting with episode 52 and winding up at episode 0?
You know, it's funny you should ask that, Brandon, because the sequel to 52 was a series called Countdown that started from issue 52 and then went backwards to 1, and nobody liked it.
Oh, well, I guess there's a good reason for you not to do it then.
All right. Here are my other recommendations. If you enjoyed this or any episode of Insert Credit, please rate and review our show wherever and however you can. You can also support us on patreon.com/insertcredit to pay everyone involved in this show with one exception. I'm sure you can guess who. If you'd like to sponsor our show with an advertisement, you can do that by contacting us at show@insertcredit.com. You can join our community at forums.insertcredit.com or find episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/insertcreditshow. This episode is edited by Esper Quinn with music by Kurt Feldman. I'm Alex Jaffe.
I'm Frank Cifaldi.
I'm Tim Rogers.
I'm Brandon Sheffield.
And I'll see you at the weed store.
Smoke a good one tonight, everybody.